Hi again. Today I thought I'd have a look at just cutting out your plans. I go down to the print shop and I get mine printed out in the whole untiled plan, which usually comes in most zip files these days. I just find it a lot easier, even though you have to have it done every time. It tends to destroy them doing it this way. First thing you do is just turn it over, give the back a hit of spray glue. What this does is it makes sure the glue is on the paper instead of being on the foam. So when you peel the paper off, all that sticky stuff comes off with it. Just give your edges a little bit of love, because you've got to make sure that it's all on the foam. There's nothing worse than getting 3/4 of the way through cutting a piece and realising that it's hanging off the edge of the foam. It's not going to be the right shape. Once you've got it lined up, give it a good smooth out with the palm of your hand so you've got no bubbles, because that's got the opportunity to make some of your lines a little bit crooked. Because I'm in Australia, which is metric land, I always have to have it printed on a sheet of paper that's too big. I find it a lot easier just to guillotine that off before I take it anywhere. Otherwise it catches on something, peels it up, you've got to turn around and smooth it all down. My work area is a little small. I like to just take a knife and cut around the pieces to make them manageable so they fit on my cutting bench. You need yourself a straight edge, and what you're going to find is it's easier to line up 2 points that are further apart to give yourself a nice straight cut. So when I've got something like this, I'll line it up across both of those tabs, cut one, cut the other, and they both end up straighter than they normally would. And here it comes, and I find there's always one. The bad cut. Cut it again along where it's supposed to be, and just keep that piece of foam aside, and I'll show you how to fix it in a minute. To save myself a bit of time doing all the tabs, I like to cut everything one way, and then you can just turn it once and do all your little lines along one edge. Saves you having to pick it up and spin it around all the time. I didn't put that piece of foam aside, I've just put it in with all the scraps, and now I'm going to have to go searching for it. So just set it aside as soon as you do it. Okay, a lot of these new plans with the more scale looking bodies on them, you find they've got what's called a score and fold. Okay, you need to take your straight edge, line up on that line, but when you make the cut, you only want to cut halfway through. I find it easiest to score all of the lines that need to be done on one piece at once, to save you having to pick up, put it down. Now all you do is give it a gentle bend until you feel the snap, and that'll be held together by the membrane on the back of the foam. Alright, back to that bad cut that I did earlier. I find the best job for this by far is epoxy. It's very thin, so there's no glue pushing the two pieces apart. You can slot them back together really well, and it doesn't warp the foam at all when it dries. Give both pieces to be joined, on the edges to be joined, a very light coat of epoxy. You don't need a lot, it's strong stuff. Now you'll notice that I've left the paper on both. Okay, that little piece still has the black line that should have been cut, which makes it very easy to line up with the piece that has been cut. If you take that little piece of paper off, you're never quite sure whether you've got it lined up right or not. Press it in, sit something on top of it for a minute. Come back a few minutes later when it's had time to set. Now I haven't waited quite long enough, but I know epoxy well enough to know that I'm not going to stick it to the table. If that paper still sticks, be careful when you sit it down on the table. Get your straight edge, trim it off on the line, and there you go. I'll peel the paper off to give you a look. Good as new. The same basic idea works no matter whether it's a cut-off piece like that, a nick in a wing, or another part. The epoxy, smooth it in, you're done. If you make a bad cut, there's no need to panic.